A heavy stack of cash, 100 million dong, slams down onto the green felt of a billiard table, sending a cloud of thick grey cigarette smoke swirling into the harsh neon light. The hands pressing the money down are rough, usually dusted with sweet cassava flour, but today they are pale, rigid, and refusing to shake. Just 3 hours earlier, these same hands were gently wiping warm morning porridge from little Henry's chin. Now Tu Na stands in a windowless room that smells of cheap alcohol and predatory greed. Her jacket coated in the thick red dust of a long, desperate motorcycle ride from the countryside. She locks eyes with Thoa, the man holding her family's future in his pocket. Welcome back to the channel. If you have been with us for a while, you know Alex and Tu Na's world is built on the quiet, steady rhythms of our farm. But sometimes, the sanctuary we work so hard to build is threatened by a single hidden mistake. Today is not about planting seeds or fixing the roof. It is about what happens when the outside world tries to tear down your bamboo gate and the brutal lengths a mother will go to protect her home. Before the neon lights of the city blinded her, Tu Na's morning began in the familiar fragile peace of Truong Quang Trong. The mist was still clinging to the banana leaves in the garden. Alex had been awake since dawn, moving with a heavy, unnatural silence. For weeks, a shadow had hung over him, a desperate financial mistake he had tried to fix on his own, only to dig a deeper hole. Tu Na had noticed his exhaustion, the way he stared blankly at Henry's tiny yellow sandals left abandoned on the wooden porch. When she finally uncovered the truth of the debt, there was no time for anger or tears. There was only time to survive. Now she stands in the belly of the beast. Thoa slowly lowers his billiard cue. "Here is the 3 months' interest, paid in advance," Tu Na says, her voice cutting through the heavy air, sharp and unyielding. "Give me back my husband's house deed." When Thoa's men take a menacing step forward, expecting the rural housewife to finally flinch, Tu Na does not step back. Instead, she pulls out her phone, tapping the screen to initiate a private live stream connected directly to the local police. Thoa stops. A slow, chilling laugh escapes his throat, echoing against the concrete walls and the clacking of billiard balls. He does not reach for the money. He casually waves his hand, dismissing the cash as if it were worthless paper. He doesn't want the interest. He wants the entire house if Alex misses the final impossible payment tomorrow. In that suffocating room, surrounded by men who make a living breaking families apart, a cold realization washes over Tu Na. The rules of this underworld do not operate on standard financial logic. This is not about balancing a ledger. It is a dark, psychological game of dominance. It is about bleeding a family dry until they surrender their sanctuary. If she shows weakness, if she begs for her husband's sake, they will consume them both. The only practical weapon left is creating a state of mutual destruction. "You can try to take the house by your rules," she tells him, lifting the recording phone slightly so the lens catches his face. "But if you touch me, your entire illegal lending network will be on the front page of the news tomorrow morning." The silence in the room stretches, heavy and dangerous. Thoa assesses the woman standing before him. He recognizes the dangerous unpredictability of a cornered mother. He decides to offer a sinister compromise. He will extend Alex's debt for 1 month without adding a single dong of interest. But the cost of this grace period is devastatingly personal. Thoa slides a fresh typed contract across the grimy table. To buy her husband 1 month of breathing room, Tu Na must sign over the collateral of her own cassava chopping workshop in her hometown. Tu Na looks down at the stark white paper. That workshop is her independence. She built it with her own calloused hands, chopping wood in the blistering sun, saving every spare coin, creating a quiet business to secure Henry's future. It is her personal dream, completely separate from the farm and separate from Alex's mistakes. But true partnership means bearing the absolute heaviest weight of the other person's failures. Without a tremor in her fingers, Tu Na picks up the cheap plastic pen. She presses the tip to the paper, listening to the scratching sound that signs away her life's work, trading her own deeply held dream just to buy her family a little more time. The heavy, soundproof doors of the billiard club swing shut behind her, abruptly cutting off the clacking of the balls and the suffocating smell of stale tobacco. Tu Na steps out into the blinding, unforgiving glare of the midday sun. For a few seconds, she simply stands in the narrow concrete alleyway, letting the oppressive heat bake the cold dread out of her bones. Inside that room, she had been an absolute fortress. She had played the psychological game perfectly, using the threat of mutual destruction to force a predator into a corner. But the body keeps a strict, unforgiving accounting of the adrenaline it spends. As she takes her first heavy step toward her dusty motorbike, her knees finally betray her. They buckle, entirely drained of strength. Tu Na catches herself against the worn leather seat of the bike, sliding down until she is crouched in the dirt, gasping for air. Her hands, which had not trembled even once while signing away her life's work, are now shaking so violently she can barely wipe the mixture of cold sweat and red road dust from her pale cheeks. This is the invisible reality of protecting a family. The outside world only ever sees the brave face, the signed contract, the problem seemingly solved. They do not see the quiet, terrifying moments afterward, alone in an empty alley, when the sheer weight of what you have just sacrificed threatens to crush you completely. Have you ever noticed how the most life-altering, monumental decisions often happen in the ugliest, most ordinary places? There was no grand ceremony when she saved her home today. Just a cheap plastic pen, a dirty table, and now the deafening silence of an empty street. She presses her forehead against the cool metal of the handlebars, forcing her breathing to slow its frantic pace. In her mind's eye, she doesn't see Thoa's menacing smile anymore. Instead, she sees little Henry sitting on the bamboo porch back home, his hands sticky with ripe jackfruit, completely safe and utterly oblivious to the storm his mother just walked through. She sees the wooden rafters of the house she and Alex built, beam by beam. She had just traded her independence, her cassava workshop, her sanctuary of quiet, honest labor, to keep those rafters from crashing down on them. The loss aches deep in her chest, a heavy stone of grief, but the decision itself remains crystal clear. It simply had to be done. Slowly, the violent shaking subsides. The practical necessity of the next step overtakes the lingering shock. Tu Na stands up, her legs feeling like lead, and swings her leg over the motorbike. She kicks the engine to life, the familiar rhythmic rumble grounding her back in reality. She pulls out into the chaotic city traffic, navigating the maze of exhaust and blaring horns, her tired eyes fixed entirely on the road ahead. The long journey back to Truong Quang Trong is a physical unraveling of the day's tension. The grey, imposing concrete sprawl of the city gradually gives way to the softer, vibrant greens of the countryside. The paved highway turns into the familiar, uneven dirt paths lined with leaning banana trees and wild grass. With every kilometer she covers, the immediate threat of the debt collector fades behind her, replaced by a much deeper, more complex dread waiting at home. The external predator has been handled, at least for a month. But a family can survive an outside attack much easier than it can survive the rot of an internal secret. Alex's hidden debt, his desperate attempt to fix a financial mistake alone in silence, has fractured the very foundation of their partnership. The house is temporarily safe, but the home is breaking. Healing a deep fracture requires ripping the bandage off and exposing the wound to the light, no matter how excruciating it is in the moment. Tu Na knows that if she returns to the farm and pretends she simply fixed the problem, The poison of unspoken resentment will eventually destroy them anyway. The practical lesson here is brutal but necessary. Love under extreme pressure demands absolute unflinching honesty. You cannot rebuild a life on top of a lie. Think about the quietest moments in your own home. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing isn't a loud argument. It is the heavy silence of someone carrying a burden they refuse to share with the person they love. Tu Na slows the motorbike as the familiar bamboo gate of their property comes into view in the distance, bathed in the fragile golden light of the late afternoon. She pulls over to the side of the dirt road, letting the engine idle beneath her. Reaching into her pocket, her fingers trace the cracked glass of her phone screen. She finds his name. The line rings twice. "Alex," she says, her voice stripped of all the fierce armor she wore in the city, leaving only a bone-deep exhaustion. "I am on my way back. We need to talk, right now." The motorbike engine cuts off, leaving only the evening chorus of cicadas and the gentle rustling of wind through the mountainous clay-soil terrain. Alex is already waiting by the wooden porch. He looks visibly older than he did this morning, the agonizing weight of his hidden financial mistakes pulling heavily at his shoulders. When Tu Na approaches, she does not yell. She does not cry. She simply reaches into her dusty jacket, pulls out the folded copy of the collateral contract, and places it gently into his rough, calloused hands. Alex reads the stark black letters, and his breath suddenly catches in his throat. He realizes instantly the magnitude of what she has done. The cassava workshop, the dream she built from the dirt up, her own hard-won independence, is now entirely chained to his failure. "I bought us 1 month," Tu Na says, her voice exhausted but incredibly steady. "The house is safe, but my shop is the collateral." Alex looks from the devastating paper to her tired eyes. A single tear traces the deep, sun-baked lines of his face. He knows an apology is useless here. Words cannot unsign a legal document. But as the suffocating pressure of his secret finally evaporates into the evening air, a profound shift happens. The poison of the lie has been drawn out. This is the agonizing hidden cost of protecting a family. Survival is never truly free. The practical lesson of the day was brutal. Begging only feeds the predator. But the emotional reality is that fighting back always demands a heavy personal sacrifice. She traded a piece of her own identity today. Yet as Tu Na looks past her husband and watches little Henry carefully stacking his wooden blocks on the porch, completely safe, completely oblivious to the danger they just escaped, the tight knot of grief in her chest begins to soften. The workshop is in danger, but her family's sanctuary stands unbroken. Later that evening, the atmosphere inside the small wooden house fundamentally changes. It is quiet, but it is no longer suffocating. The warm, comforting glow of the kitchen fire returns, casting soft, dancing shadows against the familiar clay walls. The smell of steaming food fills the room, replacing the cold dread of the morning. Alex sits beside Tu Na on the low wooden stools, gently helping her prepare the vegetables for dinner. He moves with a silent, deeply determined focus. He knows he has a monumental mountain to climb, not just to pay off the ruthless loan shark, but to earn back the independence his wife sacrificed for him. They are stripped of their safety net, facing an impossible month ahead, but for the first time in weeks, they are finally standing on the exact same ground. The heavy burden of secrets has been lifted, replaced by the unified strength of two partners ready to fight for their life together. True marriage isn't just about sharing the easy harvests. It is about who stands by your side when the absolute worst happens. How will Alex step up to save Tu Na's dream? That is a battle for tomorrow. But tonight they are safe, and they are together. A house is built with wood and clay, but a home is kept alive by the brutal, beautiful honesty of the people inside it. Have you ever had to make a painful sacrifice to protect the peace of the people you love? Please share your story with us in the comments below. If you understand the quiet, everyday struggles of keeping a family together, please subscribe and join our community.